Hello, and welcome back to NIOS Decoded. Today we're covering English 302, Chapter 3, An Astrologer's Day. Whether you're studying for your NIOS board exam or just getting started, you're in the right place. Let's decode this together. And if you haven't already, join our free Telegram community at t.me/NIOS Decoded for free notes and doubt help. Okay, let's go. So a fake astrologer fooling the exact guy who's trying to track him down and kill him? I literally cannot wait to get into this one. It sounds like a total suspense thriller. Right? It is such a fantastic story. Let's take a quick look at today's roadmap. We're going to start with a chapter overview, then break down the story concept by concept. After that, we are mastering antonyms and synonyms, diving into grammar and literary devices, hitting the exam corner, and finally doing a quick recap. Let's jump in. All right, Section 1. Chapter overview and why this actually matters. So why are we reading this? Well, R.K. Narayan is an absolute legend of Indian literature, and this story is incredibly crucial for understanding major literary themes, things like hypocrisy and irony. But beyond just enjoying the story, a fair warning for you. This chapter is heavily tested for vocabulary and grammar in the board exams. Oh, that is so good to know. So we definitely need to pay extra attention to all the word meanings today while we go through the text. Exactly. Okay, let's set the scene. The story opens at midday. We've got our fake astrologer, and he's sitting under this big, spreading tamarind tree. He lays out his paraphernalia. Now, that's a big word, but it just means all his gear, all the objects needed for his specific activity. He's got cowrie shells, these obscure mystic charts, and his forehead is bright with sacred ash. And the marketplace around him sounds so chaotic. There's like an auctioneer, right? Yes, there's an auctioneer, basically someone doing a nilam, yelling and selling cheap cloth, plus a vendor selling fried groundnuts. It's a busy, super noisy place, which is honestly absolutely perfect for attracting a curious crowd to his little setup. Let's trace how the plot unfolds chronologically. At midday, as we said, he sets up shop under that tamarind tree. Fast forward to the evening, the nuts vendor blows out his flare, which is basically the signal that it's time to pack up. But then, at night, a stranger named Guru Nayak arrives in the dark. And finally, by midnight, the astrologer goes home, completely unburdened.
Okay, wait. Before we get to midnight, if this guy is a total fake and doesn't actually know anything about the stars, how is he answering his customers' questions all day long?
That is the perfect question. The text actually tells us it's all shrewd guesswork. Basically, it's a very clever jagard. He lets the customer talk for like 10 minutes first. In that time, he's just gathering all the clues he needs about their money problems or family tangles. And then, he just gives this very general advice that literally anyone would happily agree with. But that night, his shrewdness is really put to the ultimate test. Let's unpack the major plot twist. The astrologer goes home to his wife and confesses something huge. He says, "I thought I had the blood of a man on my hands all these years. That was the reason why I ran away from home. He is alive." No way. So the stranger in the dark, Guru Nayak, was actually the guy the astrologer thought he murdered years ago back in his village? Exactly. It's wild. He recognizes Guru Nayak, but Guru Nayak doesn't recognize him because it's completely dark. So the astrologer uses his fake skills to tell Guru Nayak that his attacker was crushed under a lorry. He successfully convinces him to stop his search and just go back home forever. Wow, that is seriously wild. Okay, as much as I love talking about this story, I'm staring at my textbook right now, and I'm honestly a bit stressed. How do we actually solve in-text questions 3.1 and 3.2 for antonyms and synonyms? I always struggle with these. I am so glad you brought that up. Let's pivot from story comprehension to some actionable textbook skill building. These exact questions are prime targets for your exam, so let's get them sorted. Let's start with the antonyms from in-text question 3.1. I highly encourage you to pause this explainer right now. Actually, try to recall or search your textbooks before I reveal the answers. Give it a shot. Okay, I have my pencil ready. Let's go slow so everyone can keep up. All right, here are the correct antonym pairings directly from the text. The antonym for blunt is sharp. Take a moment to write that down. For discomfort, the word is comforted. Costly becomes cheap. Complex is simple. Innocent pairs with shrewd. And dishonest pairs with honest. Just make sure you mark these clearly in your book. Awesome. Moving right along to the synonyms for in-text 3.2. Let's keep a nice measured pace here too, so you can write these down.
Ready when you are.
The text's synonym for problem is tangle, or you could use trouble. For ancestor, it's forefather. Insight is perception. Far off is distant. Ray is shaft. like the shaft of green light mentioned in the story. And finally, murmur is grumble or mutter. Okay, now that our vocabulary is totally sorted, let's look at a key literary device used so brilliantly in this chapter: irony. As we've defined it here, irony is basically a contrast between what is expected and what actually occurs.
Right. Like at the very end of the story, when he's complaining to his wife? Spot on.
The ultimate irony here is that our fake astrologer has just successfully cheated Guru Nayak into believing his attacker is dead. He has practically saved his own life. But when he gets home, he complains to his wife that Guru Nayak cheated him out of a full rupee. I mean, he is upset over a few coins right after getting away with attempted murder. It's hilarious. That really is hilarious. Okay, shifting gears to grammar for a second, in-text 3.5 has a bunch of fill-in-the-blanks on tenses. Is there a clear, easy rule we can use to just master these?
Absolutely there is. We need to look at the present perfect continuous versus the past perfect continuous. Notice the structure here. It's your subject plus has, have, or had plus been plus the verb ending in ing. For present perfect continuous, the action is ongoing up to the present, like an action that is still chal rahe, such as I have been studying for 3 hours. But for past perfect continuous, it was ongoing up to a past event, like I had been studying for 3 hours before she called. That before is the key difference.
All right, section 5, the exam corner. Now that we have the grammatical rules down, let's shift our focus to the top conceptual questions. These are the ones that have a very, very high chance of appearing in your board exam.
Oh, perfect. I definitely need to know how to properly structure my answers for these. Let's do it.
Here's our first top question. Did the protagonist choose to be an astrologer? Notice the model answer structure here. The direct answer is no. It was absolutely not by choice. You want to explain that he was forced to flee his village without a plan. And why? Because he ran away after a drunken quarrel where he honestly thought he killed a man. It was sheer desperation, not a career choice. Moving to the second crucial question. What motivated the astrologer to confront the stranger openly? Was he just being super clever and confident because he was used to fooling people? Actually, no. It was much more about raw survival instinct and a deep fear of exposure. He recognized Guru Nayak, the very man he thought he had killed. So his core trait of shrewdness just kicked into overdrive. He used his fake astrology to convince Nayak that his attacker was already dead. This was the only way to ensure Nayak would stop the search and never, ever come south again. Excellent! Let's transition to our final consolidation phase. It is time for a very quick recap to lock in all this knowledge before we wrap up the explainer today. All right, here are your 5 key takeaways. Number 1, An Astrologer's Day is a suspenseful thriller about a fake astrologer. 2, the astrologer relies entirely on psychology and shrewd guesswork to fool his clients. 3, the massive climax reveals the astrologer is actually the man Guru Nayak is hunting. 4, irony is the key literary device used at the very end of the story. And 5, for grammar, make sure you master those present and past perfect continuous tenses using the formulas we discussed. Seriously, this breakdown was so incredibly helpful. I feel like I actually understand the story, the vocabulary, and exactly what the examiner is going to ask me. I am so glad to hear that. Before we go, just ask yourself something. If the astrologer had never met Guru Nayak that night, would he have spent his entire life running from a ghost? It really makes you think about how our past almost always catches up with us in the end. That's NIOS Decoded for today. Share this with a fellow NIOS student.
Subscribe, join Telegram at t.me/NIS Decoded, and remember, you've got this.